So I think we want to make sure that the timing aligns on that one. You know, that there is, you know, a confirmed intent to build this light in conjunction with Chick-fil-A.
Again, we've spent probably $150,000 in drawings for this. So yes, the intent is 100%. I've tried to get other monies to try to help, dead end on every one of them, but we've still gone forward doing this. So it's all, our druthers, we would prefer to have a light, no question about it. I'm not holding that back.
Yeah, I think the next step is we need to review the stormwater design with the town engineering staff, and then we can send the hopefully the final requested data to DOT, and then they can finalize the approval.
Let's get that taken care of. Keep that moving. So I guess we've got 3 items, and I do want to wrap this up here, but 3 items in relation to this site. You know, the window signage, which will be addressed. The ancillary parking, Joanne, your group will get an amended drawing to Doug so that we can, you know, respond to it Thursday night. And then the last being construction at Chick-fil-A and its timing with the light. And making sure that I would hope by the time Chick-fil-A opens at the latest that the light is in place. You know, I think it just goes without saying that, you know, our concern still is that people can't get their chicken sandwich. You know, that it is tied, right, Doug, that the C of O is tied to the light?
Yes. That they
Right, so we've
It's
got.
it's in the resolution that we had for the last approval.
Right, so we just want to make sure that that's there and that the issue is not the town withholding a C of O, but the light is the issue.
I mean, we would, you know, we want the same as you want, Nathan. I don't know how we can answer that.
Yeah, I don't know how you would answer that either, but.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the concern or the question is, if you start building and you get a building permit and you get the building up and the DOT, it continues to be the DOT, what would the plan be? That's a concern.
We did previously talk about temporary measures, and that I think that's in the resolution as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not ideal.
I don't recall there being anything temporary.
The thing with the construction of it, again, we everybody tries to put the cart in front of the horse. It's just the order for the light. They said it takes 6 months to get a light. We don't have approval for the light yet. I don't want to go spend $100,000 for a light that.
Oh, no, not, I'm more worried about you spending multi-millions of dollars to build a building that then you can't get a C of O and can't use because there's no light. That's how the resolution currently reads.
Okay, well, again, I can only do my part of it. Chick-fil-A is building the building. Okay, their lease says they have to have, no, it doesn't say they have to have it. They can't open.
Right.
Without a light. That's right. You guys put that in there and we present that to them and they have agreed to that. So they know they can't open until the light or temporary light is there. It's as far as ordering lights and doing all that, it's out of our control until we have the blessing from DOT, which, you know, they keep saying, no problem, but it's been 2 years.
I know. That's why we're trying to protect you as well, you know, because we have this condition and then you just don't want it to come back later and go like, hey, it says right here you can't open. And there's everybody lined up for their chicken sandwiches. And there's
they're
They
not gonna
can't-
get a
they can't
certificate
go
Well,
of
they
back.
won't,
occupancy.
yeah, they're not gonna open, obviously, but,
I
I
know.
mean,
I-
Doug, I
can't.
think you had some communication with the state too. Is there anything you can do on your end to explain that, it's under approval and anything they can do to speed that up? I mean, I think you just have to meet with us to make sure that everything is acceptable to you and that that's part of the requirements. Anything you can do on your end, we'd all appreciate. You all know the consultants in the room, what it takes to move some of these things. But I mean, it is what it is, right? If it's there and there's no C of O, they don't open, and they're aware of that. This is not unique to fast food
Right.
restaurants that need lights.
Right. Okay. All right. I think that was a concern of the board. So is everyone fine with the resolution as it stands on that issue? So we don't have to really address it further. It's already in the resolution.
Right. Sounds like the storm
Sounds like
just needs to
everybody
be
knows.
reviewed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we're just on those first two issues and I think we're okay to modify the site plan if everyone agrees to the reserve. And the sign's being taken care of. I think it'll be fairly simple then
Great,
on Thursday.
okay. Any
Okay.
other issues? I mean, I appreciate your time. We did go a little bit over what the intended time was, but there are no other issues. Look forward to seeing your updated materials and seeing you on the agenda Thursday night.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
Thank
Yeah, I'll
you.
get those drawings
you.
over to you.
Thanks, Rob.
bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, we've got High Tech. The interim project.
Good morning, John O'Brien from Huber Brewer. Our focus today, we're following up on some items that were raised in the concept review that we had probably a month ago. Two primary items that we left that meeting understanding that we needed to address. One was to enhance and refine the elevations, building heights, and particularly the entry portal at the southeast corner of the building and the Fly Road elevation in its entirety. The second really was how to satisfy our clients' need for security, given their use, and particularly how the fence could be aesthetically treated along Fly Road so that it was not objectionable to the town, and that would take changing kind of the form and giving some undulation to that fence, and also enhancing landscaping and grading in that area so that the fence would kind of appear and disappear and wouldn't just look like a security fence along the front elevation of the building. Salem LaHood is on the phone also from QPK, and Salem can walk you through a bunch of presentation materials that we've done to address both those items. And then I'll give you a quick update as to where we are with engineering and detailed final submission to the town at the end of Salem's presentation. So I will turn it over to Salem at this point, and he can share his screen.
Good morning, everyone. Salem LaHood, I'm a senior architect at QPK. If I may, I'll try to share the screen now. Oh, it's disabled, so someone needs to enable share screen.
Give it another shot, it should.
Okay, so can everyone see that?
Not yet, it might take a second.
How about now?
There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay, so starting off with the floor plans, they really haven't changed. The footprint of the buildings remain the same. We have roughly 150,000 square feet at the ground level. It includes what they're calling the annex building on the west portion, shipping and receiving, mechanical, electric. On the southeast corner is the lobby and administrative area, and then the rest of that floor is a production facility. The second floor is an L-shaped structure. It wraps around the building on both the north and the east. And right now, that's just scheduled for both production and office. Here's the exterior elevations. The east elevation at the top, which is Fly Road elevation, then the north elevation, the west elevation, and the south elevation. The two-story portion is roughly 43'6" to the top of the parapet. If there's any questions on the elevations, please jump in. So this is an architectural site plan that shows the orientation. The building entry is off of Hammersmith Drive. The east elevation is along Fly Road. What we're showing is a parking lot to the south, and then a parking area to the north, which I believe we would like to reserve based on the parking counts. And maybe Brian Bouchard could address that when he looks at the site plan.
I mean, the reserve parking, that I believe is in accordance with the town's 25% allowable reserve. We've gone back and forth whether based on typical or planned employee counts and shift overlap, we could probably reserve more parking than that. I don't know what the town's position would be on reserving additional parking based on known shift occupancy and shift overlap.
Additional reserve is going to require a variance
Right.
over 25%.
Would the planning board support the variance? Is that
Greater than
something?
25%?
Yeah.
I think we'd have to hear the
Okay,
pitch.
okay.
If the real numbers make sense, I think we could support that, but we just have to see the real numbers.
Yeah.
Right. Understood. Service court to the west of the annex building, you can see there's two loading berths at dock height, and then one loading berth at grade, and a couple of compactors. So here's an axon view from the south, kind of showing the overall southern exposure in the parking field. You can see in this image the undulating fence that wraps around, and it's landscaped on the east side Fly Road. Flagpole entry element, employee entries here, further west. This is a bird's eye view from the south, looking northeast. Shows the parking field and the entry element. This is a view from the entrance drive at Hammersmith. If I go too fast, please let me know. This is a view on Fly Road, looking towards that entrance element. That car, the white car there is entering Hammersmith Drive.
Salem, what are the materials that you're showing here? The blue, the white?
So the white is insulated metal panels. The blue is a corrugated metal panel. That is the TTM official blue color that they use on all their projects. The glass is just a continuous ribbon window in this area and on the east side as well.
And the spandrel between the two ribbon windows on Fly.
Yeah, when we get to that elevation. So here you can see we've added a spandrel. This is a Galvalume corrugated aluminum. It provides a reflective sheen, if you will, depending on how the sun hits it. And we placed that on the Fly Road elevation to kind of dress it up a little bit and to provide a high-tech look. This is from Benedict, across the street. I'm standing on Benedict. You can see the entire Fly Road elevation. And then this is from the northeast looking southwest at the building. You can see the landscaping and the fence line. This is on Fly Road headed south. And then this is the final one, which is a bird's eye from the northeast looking towards the building, and gives you a better depiction of the landscaping. We've added some feature elements in the undulation where the fence moved away from Fly Road.
Salem, what are the green boxes, just to summarize what those are?
Oh, well, that's the electrical service and transformers. You're talking about here, Lake?
Yes, yeah. And can we go back to that, back up and go back to that view from Fly Road looking south towards the building and those disappear?
Well, I mean, you can just see the top of them there.
And those are modeled accurate height, size, volume.
I think we have some work to do to truly define the actual on those. There's still some outstanding information from National Grid that we're working through to just determine exactly what that equipment is as far as height.
So could we ask that the berming and the planting along kind of that area maybe kind of, grow in height to just conceal some of that?
Yeah,
just
our
as
intent
a
is
statement, yeah.
Our intent is to conceal it. So once we get a determination on the type of equipment, we'll certainly address it either with berms or a screen wall or a combination of two.
Yeah,
I mean, you've done a beautiful job in terms of the plantings right along Fly and kind of how that it organically looks like it's there. I prefer to see that burned or planted versus a screen wall at that point, just for continuity.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nate, that's a good point. So this is Brian from CHA. What we're also seeing here is the fact that Fly Road is probably 4 to 5 feet higher in elevation than what the pad elevation would be for that equipment. So grade is working to our advantage, such that you're right. If we make some minor changes to what the landscape berm looks like, you'd actually be looking over top of that equipment. This may also include something like not a screen wall, but some type of inset wall that the berm can rest on top of, so that you don't see the wall, but it's letting the equipment be lower in elevation than what you would perceive from the road too. So we can work on those details.
Great. Any other updates?
Just generically, I'll mention that, this was sort of the aesthetic and sort of flavor of the design in terms of the renderings, but we've also worked on the grading and drainage plans, particularly to make sure that we're treating and managing the stormwater from what's the existing 100-year storm down to what would be the proposed condition as a 10-year storm. So a significant reduction in runoff rates that would be leaving the site. Site basically falls from Fly Road to the rear, which is the railroad, and there's some existing drainage infrastructure by way of a shallow pond that's back there. So we'll be doing our management upstream with bioretention areas, a sand filter, and some storage ponds, and then improving that existing permanent pool that's in the rear of the site to make sure that we handle our stormwater. And then some of the other updates that you'll see in our next package would be landscape plans that match what we're showing here in terms of the renderings, along with things like the site lighting and utility plans too. So full site plan package to come.
John, can you give an update on your discussions with the Dunrover neighborhood?
Sure. So, we're all aware of some issues with drainage and stormwater in the Franklin Park neighborhood. I did get some information that the neighbors were wondering what exactly was going on with the site, and I spoke with Tom Brewster, at length, I guess yesterday or the day before. He's a resident of the street, and forgive me, I forgot the name, but he, in the Franklin Park neighborhood that has the biggest concern with stormwater and drainage. Tom is a former employee of the town, and everybody seems to bend his ear on things like this. So I had a good discussion with him, explaining the whole situation, what the project was, where it was positioned, really kind of tight to Fly Road, that the construction of the building height would not be, kind of overshadowing the neighborhood, and that stormwater would be managed along that western side to the requirements of the Lake Creek Drainage District, which I don't believe were in place when the plan was originally proposed back in the 80s. So all the neighbors seem to go to him because he's connected to the town. I offered to meet with the neighborhood in its entirety if they wanted to. Tom didn't think that was something that was necessary based on our conversation, and that he was gonna kind of disseminate the information via text or phone calls to the neighbors, and he was very happy that I had made the call and with the information. So we exchanged cell phone numbers. I told him to call me anytime. I did make sure, because he was headed to Florida for a couple months, that this project was seriously being fast tracked, so that so he wouldn't wait until he got back to give the information to the neighbors, and that I was willing to meet with them in his absence. He seemed very adamant about the fact that he could disseminate the information to the neighbors, and again, I told him anybody had any concern, just kind of reach out to me and I'd be glad to go through things with them. The only, I brought up the issue of whether or not the perception in the neighborhood was that, and it was an Anaran use, and, how have they coexisted with Anaran? And basically it said they've been a great corporate citizen and nobody's complained. He did raise one minor issue that said there was some outside equipment that if he was bordering it, he would not be happy, but I told him all the HVAC equipment was planned to be inside this facility. And that, together with the fact that it was pushed up against Fly Road, it shouldn't be an impact to them at all. So those were kind of the issues that he's heard, but it seemed to be very well received, and he understands we'll do whatever we can to help, so.
Thank you. Based on updated elevations, site layout, renderings, are there any comments from the board? I mean, I appreciate all of the efforts that you guys have undertaken. I think building looks great.
Yeah, I think, Salem, my only thing was my comments from our little pre-meet last night was, did you do anything on the signage size just to inform the board on what the zoning, what the regulations are compared to what we're seeing here?
I did, Leif, and I added a sheet to this presentation, so this is just an analysis of signage. I've got the zoning information to the right. So for the high-tech area, the maximum signage allowed is 120 square feet, and I believe it's not to exceed 10%. 120 square feet is the top elevation, so that kind of shows what 120 square feet looks like in proportion to the overall exterior. The east facade is 16,200 feet, and the 10% wall area would be 1620. There is in the provisions under the industrial uses an allowance for up to 300%, I know that's not specific to the high tech, but just as an example, if you were to do 300% that would be the middle elevation. And that's a sign area of 360 feet. And then the bottom elevation, if you will, is the one that we've been showing in the renderings. It's a total of 1,300 square feet. It falls less than the 10%, but obviously much higher than what the maximum allowed is.
And are we measuring this sign correctly where the box is the bottom of the G and the top of the L's, or?
Yeah,
Yes,
I could just note that these elevations, there is a rectangle that surrounds it, and it does go to the bottom of the G and it goes to the top of
The swoosh.
the swoosh. So there's a lot of empty sign area both at the bottom and at the top based on that. And all of these signs have the same sort of calculation based on your regulations that you draw a rectangle around the entire sign area.
I mean, proportionally, I'd almost think it's slightly less than the bottom image, the 1,300. The middle one, personally, to me, feels just a little small, but the bottom one feels just a little too big.
Yeah, we could address that. We could potentially reduce the bottom one, maybe 20%, somewhere in that range to try to get it.
Yeah, Nathan, I had him do this because we got into this a little last night just to talk, and my comment was, this is a proportional game that needs to be played to be appropriately sized for the elevation, not just potentially meeting the minimalist regulation element here.
So, and I agree with you, I think it is a proportional, I mean, it has to feel right in terms of that elevation. But the other is, who are you advertising to? You've got people on Fly Road, which are 50 feet away from the road. It's not like you're looking to advertise to people on 481 moving 65 miles an hour. So I think it is a fine game in there in terms of how large this signage is on this elevation. So I don't know what avenue we necessarily have. I guess it would be a recommendation to ZBA if the signage is over the 120 square feet. But I think we want to get to a point where it's right for the building and it's right for the neighborhood and it's right for the street.
I agree.
Not just, is it lit or is it just?
Yeah, and we tried to use the signage almost as an element of the design. So you can see in these renderings that, it's a real component to the overall design.
Yeah, no, is it lit signage or is it just straight?
There will be individual internally illuminated letters, so.
So that plays into the overall aesthetic of the site. So then the other part of it is you got signs on two sides of the building.
Well, I think the ordinance allows you to have a sign on each face that faces the street, so this view here on the south side faces Hammersmith and the other one's Fly Road, but we're willing to visit the Hammersmith one if you'd like, but we're open. We're just showing what we have currently.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd almost say the one at Hammersmith has got to be secondary, maybe smaller in size. And let the one on Fly
be the big component based one, yeah. Yeah, this one, the one on Hammersmith reads really large to me proportionally. We didn't talk about that last night, Salem. The other thing I had, Salem, was back on the Fly Road elevation. We've got the Gavaloom Center panel. Originally, we talked about having some form of way of having a hood element on the top of that would splay light down across that nice textured panel. So we have a lighting element onto that.
Yeah, so put some sort of eyebrow here over the top of the ribbon.
Yep, just a pin spot down onto that and express that Gavaloom panel.
Yeah, we could do that
as we get into the lighting program.
We could do that from the top, or we could do that from the ground.
Bottom. Yep. Yeah, either
I
way.
think would be more effective than shining down, yeah.
Yep.
Be careful, I mean, we are all dark sky
Yeah.
clients, so shooting light up is not always preferable, but.
Yeah, and the lights would be screened by the landscaping, so yeah, that would work.
Yeah, they could be hooded. They could be hooded too, so they really cut a line at the top of that panel too. Your call, Salem, but that's the concern.
Yep, understood.
Are there other comments from the board?
Yeah, this is Doug. I do think this is a really nice project and I'm pretty excited about it. So I think in the next presentations as we progress, I'll be looking for your strategies on how any rooftop equipment is going to be integrated into the design. I'm not sure if there's any heating, cooling plants, site related work that'll eventually develop. I know it's as early in your design, so you probably haven't made it that far, but that'll be something I'll be interested in seeing how that's going to integrate into the building and the site.
Well, I can address that. Currently, the thought is that we won't have any rooftop equipment other than perhaps some vents coming through. TTM would like to have what I'll call a mechanical catwalk throughout the system where they put their units on and distribute their HVAC, if you will, from those mechanical catwalks.
So all internalized.
Yes,
Hey.
because they have the volume to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Good.
So presumably you'll have mechanical louvers for heat exchangers at some point around the facade though. So yeah.
We haven't gotten to that point
Right.
with the engineers yet, but as soon as we do, we will incorporate those into the facade. Yep.
Okay.
Doug,
Great. Yeah.
I mean, we may have a generator outside. Other than that, I think the cooling towers would be probably inside because we're gonna cool year round, so.
Okay.
Sounds right. HVAC equipment is all planned for maintenance purposes and aesthetic to be inside. So.
On the inside. Okay. Makes for a nice clean roof too. The other component that I'll need some more information on is kind of the delineation of the access points, access control at those drive lanes into the parking field at the fencing. So clearly they're not going to be open. Well, maybe they will be open without gates, but I think there's some more information I'll be looking for there.
Yeah, the direction currently, Doug, is to operate similar to their existing facility, which is a gated fenced facility, but that there is free flow of traffic. So the gate would be available to be shut if it needed to be, but it would just be a manually operated swing gate.
Okay, so as those details are developed, we'll take a look at them.
Great.
Great.
Awesome. Anyone else? Any other additional comments? So what is our timeline on this one? When do you anticipate having an updated package? So that was gonna be my closing statement. So we're due a couple of items to complete our long form seeker, which we would expect to have probably by week's end. CHA has progressed the engineering, particularly the stormwater, to a point where we're pretty close. I think we'd be looking to maybe get in the workshop session on the 23rd and get into a meeting on the 25th of January where we could progress this and maybe designate lead agency for seeker. I don't think we have time to get, I mean, the 11th is gone, meeting on the 11th is gone, so the thought would be the 25th, we could get lead agency and start that process and have a formal set of engineered drawings that we could submit for Mark Parrish to review. So you've been, as part of this process, you've been placed on the track A submission, where you provided that submission date list at this
Not
point?
Not yet.
No,
So track A would have you providing any updated materials and package submission by the 25th of this month to be placed on the 8th of February planning board meeting.
okay,
So that would be your target to get on the next track A. And if you don't have that timeline, we can give you that timeline so that you have all of the track A deliverable deadlines
okay.
moving
Yeah,
forward.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it, so yeah, if you could forward it to Charlie and I, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll get that, but that would be your target. The 25th at 3 p.m. would be the deadline for getting materials in to be on the 8th of February track A planning board session.
And that would be where we would get lead agency designation?
Yeah, if all your materials are in, I think we could call for that.
Would it be possible to do it on the 25th with a completed seeker form?
Yeah, could we break this down and bite that part off?
I-
We would
I don't-
need materials by this Thursday for that to happen. When are you able to get materials to?
All right, well, why don't we internally discuss it and then,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that we haven't even spoken about, which shouldn't be a big deal, but as part of the equation here, is there's a subdivision involved with this too, right?
yeah, so the subdivision application and the materials were submitted on Friday. So that is in process. That subdivision is really a merger of three residential lots at the north end of Fly Road, as it abuts Sunny Square Drive, that we acquired and are zoned high tech. And we just are gonna, merge them into the larger parcel. So those maps and the subdivision application has been submitted to the town. I don't
We're
know.
gonna have, we'll have enough by the next meeting to start the seeker process. That's,
Yeah.
that, what we're gonna have is sufficient.
Right.
So they may or may not be on, it'll just be a.
We can move it forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So,
Yeah, I just think, Jamie and Nathan, I think anything we can do to take these big projects and bite off the components that we can bite off that are easy to do, I think we should do.
Right.
Yeah, as long as that material's there, we'll discuss it prior to the next meeting, but if we're comfortable with it, I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, and we're all for workshop sessions, additional workshop sessions, if you think it's beneficial, so.
Right,
I think that's all been great, response and comments, and we're excited about moving forward, so.
well, I appreciate the modifications, I think, thank you to Leif for taking on a little bit more of kind of a liaison role to get this to push forward. I think it looks beautiful. And I appreciate the efforts that you guys have taken.
Yeah, I'd second that in terms of Leif's help and assistance, and we've had good dialogue a couple of times with him, so appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any old business that we have to address at this point? Did you get a chance to review those submission dates, those two PDFs that I sent, the track A and track B? I just want to send them.
I thought I did, let me double check.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, so for everybody on the board here, we've got the track A and track B that we're implementing and making sure that So I have a PDF that I'm gonna send out to everyone here, which has those deliverable dates for each of the tracks. And so we're gonna make sure that we're tracking each of the applicants in terms of where they are, in terms of both their submissions and their tracks, so that we keep everybody organized in here. And so you'll have those PDFs will then be able to be supplied to the applicants so that they have a clear path forward in terms of when they're supposed to have materials in and when they can expect to be on agendas. And then the last, I think we were talking about awards. Those have all been approved at the last meeting. You're actually taking care of the awards. Once those are ready, Peter is actually gonna go and hand them out at each of the individual businesses. As soon as they're ready, I guess, right? Do we have any timeline on when those awards are gonna be done?
I haven't talked to Peter about that, but I will.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that was how we kind of left it at the end of his term.
Right.
So. Any other outstanding business that we gotta address?
Nate, I walked away for a second, because my dog was misbehaving. Did you say anything about the award to Peter? When I walked
No,
away?
not yet. So that's the Lazar Award, right?
Right.
So we'll do that. Do we want to do that at the 25th? That was the meeting that we talked about, kind of inviting Peter in, giving him the award at the 25th.
I cannot be at the 25th meeting. Just so
Do
you
we
know.
want to try and do it? Well, I don't know that we have the award in hand yet, so.
Right, I know we don't, I don't think it's here, right? You took care of that, so.
Is that award being produced, or is that,
First I've heard of it, I mean, I don't even know, I mean, how do you produce it? What are they, what are you looking
who
for?
actually does the award?
What do you mean, like the
Yeah.
yeah, I've taken care of it. Yeah,
Oh, you have,
we just
okay.
we go over to Dan.
I just have never actually addressed who takes care of the award itself.
Yeah, the plaque thing. I've been doing it, so
Okay,
that's fine.
and
Yeah.
then for that, I'll also get a card that everybody can sign. And then we did get a pair of, they're whiskey glasses basically, but they've got the town of DeWitt street map essentially etched into the glass around it with a planning board chair, his term and his initials on it, just a little token of appreciation to give to him with the award as well. So I'll have a card and people can sign the card, and we'll get those glasses wrapped. And other than that,
Okay.
Jamie, any other items of discussion?
No, I don't think so. I think we took care of it early on, so.
Okay. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, public hearing to start.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks.
With Kenny.
For 10 items.